Here is this crazy one that popped up recently, but the guy had a very concerning post that was also on his account from 3 years ago. So the OG one is from 3 years ago. It is titled, "Am I the asshole for getting mad at my girlfriend for wearing mismatched socks?" I've been dating G for 5 years and was considering proposing until this. G has always wore mismatched socks, not just 2 different colors, but pattern ones too. When we were younger, I thought it was adorable. As we're getting older and furthering our careers, I find it unprofessional and immature. And it's a little mood killing because it's not very when that time comes. I've had multiple discussions with her about it up until now, and she's always brushed it off. She doesn't think it's a big deal. I'm a little less bothered with this at home, except for when we're getting down, but the last straw was when we went to visit my parents when stay at home was lifted in our state. My brother and his wife were there with their younger daughter. She had mismatched socks on too, and I pointed it out to G. G said she didn't mind matching with my niece and that it didn't mean anything about maturity because they're just socks. To me, it proves she's acting like a literal child. I just don't understand what's the problem with wearing normal, matching plain socks. When she was at work, I got rid of all of the patterned and colored socks and replaced them with all black socks. I thought she would be excited to get new socks. She blew up at me, accused me of being the immature one, accused me of needing to feel in control, etc. I just wanted her to dress like an adult and told her I don't want to marry an overgrown child. She's been staying with her sister since and won't speak to me until I understand. Am I the asshole for replacing her socks? They're just socks. So it was posted 2 months ago. So they've been together for about 2 years, 8 months since the sock debacle. Am I the asshole for not shaving my pregnant wife and not giving her a spa day? Hello all. A couple of years back, I was seeking insight about my then girlfriend's mismatched socks. Comments were vicious, but useful. She did not leave me as some hoped, and we are married. The situation today. My wife, Gia, is heavily pregnant with our first. It's been tough on her, and I've tried to be as accommodating as possible until I can take leave and help her out full time until the baby is here. Gia has not been able to shave her intimate areas recently. As such, she asked me to do it for her. I told her no, and it escalated into a massive fight. It just grosses me out. I go down on her and everything. That's not what grosses me out. The idea of having to shave long pubic hairs simply puts me off. I know she feels better about herself when she shaves, and I know she's going through something I'll never understand, but it's not an absolute necessity to be shaved. I just don't want to, and I wouldn't expect or want her to do it for me either. When she finally relented and started being less emotional, she floated the idea of me paying for a spa day and she could get waxed. Again, I told her no, and we had another fight. I'm well off, so she does not work and I supply her needs. Then pay for the spa day, motherfucker. She asked why she should have to use her allowance. She has personal, savings, household, and baby. And why can't I just do this one thing for her? I told her there's literally no reason to. She has plenty of money from me. She said my options were to pay for the spa day or shave her. I laughed in her face and walked away, saying neither. Since this all went down on Sunday, I've been getting texts about how fucked up it is that I won't help my pregnant wife. She's just acting spoiled and ignoring boundaries and being overly emotional. I'm not refusing to help her. I've been doing nothing but helping her, even after I work all day. We have a housekeeper right now, so she really isn't expected to do anything, and it's beyond me why I should have to give her more money on top of the $8,000 I just gave her. Am I really the asshole in this situation because I don't want to shave her and don't want to give her more money?
This is the story time of how I got love bombed again. I was talking with one of my best friends the other day, and she was like, how do you just like constantly get love bombed? And it really had me thinking, how the fuck do I constantly get love bombed? Because it literally happens all the time, and I'm like so unaware. But now when I'm out of the situation, I can like look back and be like, oh, that's why I got love bombed. I've said it a million times. I think I'm the most amazing thing that's ever walked this earth. And a part of that confidence / delusion is when I go on dates and they're like, you literally are the most amazing person ever. I'm like, fuck yeah, I am. Instead of taking a step back and being like, wait. This is a sign of love bombing. I'm not an expert or like a therapist, but these are just some signs that I've realized each time I've been love bombed and like how it kind of happens. All of the things I'm gonna name happen within 3 weeks. Like the relationship starts and ended within 3 weeks. You'll have your first date, and then after your first date, he'll be like blowing up your phone to see you again. Like that's what happened with me. He was like, let's like see each other again. And within our first date to our second date, like it was a day in between our first and second date. The one thing that's really hard to realize, because when you are getting love bombed, it honestly feels like you've met your soulmate. You're like, oh my God, like I met the one, like, because you're getting love bombed. It's hard to tell whether you're getting love bombed or like, hey, I've met the one. But love bombing like typically comes from like a narcissist or someone with like a behavioral issue. So and you'll figure out later on whether it's like excitement or it's like love bombing. Because I mix up the two obviously all the time, where I'm like, oh my God, it's just like excitement. Like I met my fucking soulmate. Like duh. Obviously he thinks I'm amazing and wants to see me right after the first date, where it's like, no, take a pause. It shouldn't be. Things should not be moving that quickly. Within 2 weeks of me knowing this person, he was like, what's your love language? Like, what is it? And then I would, because mine's gift giving or like gift receiving, obviously. Also like quality time. So he would act on those and like make sure he was doing all those things, which sounds really sweet. But like 2 weeks in, it should go a little bit slower. The whole time I did have a feeling like in the back of my stomach, back of my head where I'm like, okay, like this is moving super quickly. Like I do want to slow it down, simply because like I haven't been dating for a while and I just had a weird feeling. I was like, I don't know, like this just is like moving super quickly, but it's my soulmate, so it should be. Within like 2 weeks of knowing someone, they're like, what's your love language? And then they're like buying you gifts, like doing that whole thing. And it's like, I was just telling you my love language, so like maybe like 2 months down the road, like you know what the fuck my love language is. Now I have been love bombed so much that if I receive another red fucking rose, I'm done with it. Like I've been love bombed, I can count on my 3 fucking times, and every time it's the same thing. Within the first 2 weeks I'm getting like 50 red roses and things like that. I don't want to see a red rose in my life ever again. But like, yeah, excessive gift giving is a sign of love bombing. Also, moving the relationship wildly quick. Within 2 weeks, it's like, he was like, I'm looking for a relationship. And like, are you seeing other people? And I was like, no. And yeah, I guess like I'm also looking for a relationship, like, which I am. But when I say I'm looking for a relationship, that means I'm gonna have to build with you. It's gonna take me like 2, 3, 5 months maybe to even like, which is like a normal amount of fucking time to grow and understand somebody to get in a relationship with them. But when you're getting love bombed, they want it to move super quickly, because normally it's just like a manipulation tactic. Like super quickly, he's like, well, I'm looking for that. I'm like, I agree. Like I'm also looking for a relationship, not fucking tomorrow, but like I would like to work towards that with you as well. But that's going to take like a while. But to have that conversation within like 2 weeks is insane. It's great to be on the same page as that person, but then to be like, all right, well, we're not fucking anybody else and we're not doing all those things. It's like, that's not really healthy. But then again, for me, I'm like, but he is my soulmate. And it's like, Libby, maybe he's fucking not, and he's just love bombing you. Then the next sign is like when they're telling your friends and family about you and they like want you to meet them. For instance, he was like, I told my dad about you. Like I told all my friends about you. And I'm like, oh, that's so fine. Like, cool. And we're like a week and a half in. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, what'd you say? And he's like, that I really like you and that I'm nervous. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. Valid. I would be nervous too. Just a sign of like rushing things super quickly is a big sign of love bombing. Also, telling you what you can and can't do when you're not fucking committed to that person. Like, hey, like I don't like, there's a difference between respect and boundaries and like being love bombed, so keep that in mind. Also then being like, you're so amazing, I've never met anyone like you, like feeding everything that you want to hear. Like a million signs of love bombing, and like Google it. But the one thing I really want to talk about is like the aftermath of love bombing, because it's really fucking hard to deal with. After getting love bombed, you're like, wait, this person, I swear to God, like was my soulmate. Like they're basically convincing you of all of these things. So when they get up and they go, because you're either not doing what they want or because they like want to go to someone who's a little bit more, it's like a manipulation tactic, someone else that they can fucking manipulate. It has you sitting there like, wait, what the fuck did I do wrong? Like what was that? But you said your family this, all the gifts, all this, like what the fuck was that? And it makes it so much harder to get over that person, because you're like, I'm so confused. Like we were just on such good terms, like what the fuck was, and then just like flips like a dime. That's fucked up. And you're probably sitting there like, I would never do that to him. I would never do that to him. Yeah, because you're not a narcissist and you're not going to love bomb people. But I think it's important to realize that like, it's not you. You're not the problem. You were just sold a dream and then it was just taken the fuck away from you and you were just love bombed. So it's not your fault whatsoever. Like you did nothing wrong. You just like fucked with a narcissist. Or someone who just has like issues. But they call love bombing because it honestly feels like a bomb. And that'll probably be like what it feels like a little bit, where it was like you just got bombed with all these amazing things, and then either it ends or it leads to like a very narcissistic relationship. Like that person's like a narcissist and it's just a very unhealthy relationship. But when you're looking for a relationship or building for a relationship, I've realized that like quickness isn't always a sign of like you met your soulmate. Cause I'm definitely the bitch that's like, that is my man. It's like, where's my ring, babe? And it's like, take a step back, bitch. Healthy relationships take time. Like 2 weeks, relax. Also, they will make you feel like you're the problem 99% of the time, and they will absolutely never take accountability, so don't count on it. That's just a little bit of my experience with love bombing. I'm sure I didn't like explain it 100% correctly. Those are just some things that I've like realized and noticed like when I've been love bombed. I don't have my PhD, so not a doctor, but those are just some things I've learned. Personal experience.
My husband has been cheating on me since November. I talked to the other woman yesterday. My husband, 28 male, and I, 24 female, have been married for about a year. We've been together for 6 years in total, and he moved states about a year into our relationship to be with me in my hometown. Before Christmas time, I noticed a missing sum of money from our joint account and asked him about it. He said he bought something from a friend and I let it go. On Christmas, we went to his family's house, and he insisted he wanted to go out for guys' night and leave me there. When we got back that night, he was very serious and talked to me about how he almost did something that would have disappointed everyone and rescinded his personal growth, but framed it as potential substance use. I asked him for marriage counseling because I felt insane for thinking this amazing man could be carrying on behind my back. On our way home, I found the text messages between him and his AP, but thought it was purely emotional and they hadn't met in person. He agreed to end things and move forward to repair our relationship. I found out he'd still been in contact with her on my birthday about 3 months later, and again, he said he'd end things. After this, I blocked her on his phone, and when she reached out again, he sat me down and we discussed it. I was so proud of him for being open with me. I was disappointed in myself for even having blocked her behind his back, but he said he'd keep her blocked and what's done is done. It turns out that he told her I blocked her because I was jealous, but since we were allegedly in an open marriage, it shouldn't have mattered. When I found out on my birthday, I told him that if it happens again, that was it. He'd need to leave. I pay the bulk of our bills due to income differences and our home's in my name, which I now see may have been emasculating for him. Things had seemed great in our relationship since. It felt like we were both making progress in the right direction and actively exerting effort for the good of our relationship. My husband has been no contact with his family for nearly the entirety of our relationship, and over the past weekend he went to visit his entire extended family. He said it made him so happy and proud to bring me around everyone and see us love each other. I found out yesterday when I finally reached out to the AP that he'd not only been continuously in contact with his AP, but things were much more serious than I could have ever anticipated. He reached out through other mutual connections to get in contact with this woman. He told her we have an open marriage, and I found out that the guy's night he had at Christmas was actually a date with her. We saw each other. I waved them goodbye. They didn't sleep with each other, but that doesn't change what happened. My husband and I sat down yesterday and talked after I tried to stand by my boundary of separating. I just couldn't do it. For reference, we live in the southeastern US, and when I mentioned the boundary, he started booking a flight to Alaska. I love this man and I built a home with him. We both had turbulent childhoods, and while it's not an excuse, I just couldn't bring myself to leave them without a home. Where do we go from here? When we talked, he said that my separation boundary made him feel like I'd already abandoned him, but I never thought it would actually reach this point. Not only that, but I couldn't even follow through. I can't give up, and he seems to think I already did. If you've been through anything remotely similar, please give me some advice if you have any. Please ask me any questions you have and I'll respond. Could I be wrong if I gave my dentist a written statement to help defend him against my friend who was trying to sue him? I, 55 female, have a friend Jean of similar age. She's not what I'd call a close friend, but I've known her for a long time. She's the type of person who always thinks she's right and won't back down easily from anything. A few months ago, she had a toothache and asked me which dentist I used. My dentist is so amazing, so I recommended him. She has a dental phobia and asked me to go with her to her appointment. He was lovely to her. Spent a long time talking to her, explaining everything. Put her at ease. She had a big abscess under one of her back teeth. He said it either needed a root canal and a crown or extracting. The root canal/crown would be best part of $1,000 total, and he was really clear to her that it was a big abscess and there was no guarantee the root canal would work. He actually said the odds were 50-50 and it might be better to extract the tooth and put the money towards an implant or a bridge instead. He said he could offer no form of guarantee or refund if problems happened. He was clear in what he said, and I know she heard him and understood that the odds weren't great. She decided to go ahead with the treatment. I went with her to one of her further appointments, but not all of them. Fast forward a few months. Everything was okay initially after the root canal and crown, but then she got another infection. She had antibiotics, but the problem persisted and she ended up having the tooth removed. She is livid. You think he was the worst person in the world from what she says about him. She wants to sue him and has been to a lawyer to get advice. She is claiming that she wasn't properly warned and that treatment may not work. Apparently the lawyer is confident she'll get a payout. He's told her that it'll be hard for him to prove he properly warned her and that dentists are insured for this stuff. They think his insurance will pay out because it won't be worth their time to try and defend it. I'm really annoyed at her for this because I know she is lying about not being warned. I really like the dentist and feel awful for him that he faces legal action for this, and that I was the one who introduced her to him. I worry that it will reflect badly on me in his eyes when I see him in the future. I have argued with her about it because I witnessed him warning her, but she says it's none of my business. Her view is it doesn't hurt him because he'll have insurance. Like I said, she doesn't back down from things. I feel so strongly about this that I want to send a written statement to the dentist that he can use back against her. I would state that I witnessed the appointment when he warned her and that she clearly heard and understood what he said. I know that doing so, I would probably lose her as a friend, but to be honest, I don't care about that at this point. My husband thinks I should do it. He's never liked Jean. He describes her as a nightmare and thinks I'm best off without her as a friend. So, would I be the asshole if I did this?
Story time. Is blood really thicker than water? Metaphorically speaking, of course. So a little background information. I was 16 years old and I was in 10th grade. And I had just started dating this guy that my friends introduced me to. He was extremely attractive, really smart, and really kind. Literally had all the traits a girl could want in a boyfriend. So him and I are talking for a while, and then we start dating, and we were amazing together. And my sister had just came back home from teaching in Thailand. Surprisingly, her and I got super close because we always used to fight with each other. And now we were inseparable. The only issue was she was 25 years old acting like a child. She always wanted to be at my boyfriend's house with him and his family. Weird, I know. Anyway, so she was always over there with them, and I thought that maybe she was just lonely. Wrong, of course. Now, of course, like any other relationship, mine wasn't perfect, but my boyfriend and I started having more problems than usual when my sister showed up. He was being super weird, and all the signs pointed to him cheating on me. Like I said, my sister started spending more time at my boyfriend's house. I thought that she was lonely, but then my boyfriend started acting weird, and all the signs pointed to him cheating on me. But I ignored it because I thought that him and I were in love, like in the movies. And also, if I broke up with him, it would be like breaking up with his family because I loved them like my own. Fast forward, his sister ends up getting married, and my sister and I were invited to the wedding. Fast forward, everybody gets drunk. We end up spending the night at his cousin's house, and something was off with my boyfriend. He wasn't really talking to me. He wouldn't touch me. He pretty much acted like he was done with me. Well, then there's my sister who was flirting and touching him like it was normal. Fast forward a month, I asked my sister if anything happened between them, and she goes, I think we slept together. So I confronted him about it, and he just laughs and he's like, it wasn't that serious. So I end up breaking up with him, and then I start finding unhealthy ways to cope, aka drinking, and eventually I got so lonely to the point where I forgave my sister, and then I started seeing this other guy, and he was amazing, and then my sister started begging to hang out with us. Now, of course, you would have thought that I learned from the first time, but I did not. I just completely ignored the signs that God gave me that she was a bad person. Okay, I guess not a bad person, she just didn't give a fuck about my feelings. Well, the one weekend his parents went away and they needed him to house sit, so he invited me over to house sit with him, and then guess who tags along? My sister. I mean, I guess I could have told her that she couldn't come, but at the same time, I was trying to be a forgiving person, okay? And I thought that she wouldn't do this shit to me again. Well, I was wrong because on the last night of house sitting, we all decided that we were gonna get drunk, and my sister made sure that I got more effed up than everybody else. I ended up actually getting alcohol poisoning and I almost died, but she didn't care. She was too focused on sleeping with the new guy. The worst part of this is they started dating and my mom was on her side. It's been 3 years and I'm still trying to forgive her and my family.
My brother gave my disabled little sister a reality check and it caused her to have a breakdown. Story time. My parents have 3 kids, me, Maya and Sally. The problem child here is Sally. When she was born, she had some sort of medical condition that caused doctors to think that she wasn't even going to survive at all. My parents, granted, never gave up on her. They literally spent so much time and thousands of pounds on her treatment, and a miracle happened. She's obviously survived, but she now has some brain deformities which impede her ability to socialise. And since then, my parents have literally coddled Sally to death. Sally literally had to have the best things. But to be fair, Maya did take the brunt of it all. For some unknown reason, Sally was always in competition with Maya, and I am convinced that my parents pitted them against each other as well. If Maya had a doll's house, Sally had a bigger doll's house. And since then, Maya has literally been walking on eggshells around our parents. This one time, Maya once said that she had a crush on this guy, and what did Sally do? She only went and got with him in front of Maya. The last straw for Maya was when she was dating this guy in college. She brought him home to, meet the family, and she caught Sally and her boyfriend getting it on in the basement. Now that one was an absolute shitstorm. Now don't get me wrong, they did tell Sally off for like 2 days, but then in the end they were like, it would be wrong to separate these two lovebirds. So at that point Maya lost it. She screamed at them, telling them that she had endured their abuse for years and she wasn't standing for it anymore. And that was the point where she cut off complete contact. It was a move that completely divided the family. Sally, however, didn't give a shit. She actually then went on to date the same guy that she'd got with in the basement, so Maya's ex. So in a nice turn of events, Maya did actually meet a really, really nice guy and they got married. Now Maya is pregnant with her first child. So my parents, obviously not wanting to miss out on their first grandchild, reached out to reconcile. And Maya was obviously skeptical, but she agreed. So this is where it goes down. My family has this big barbecue every year and we invite all of the family, or the distant family, everyone is there. And Maya, of course, came with her husband, Adam. Sally was also there with her now husband, which was in fact Maya's ex. And throughout the evening, Sally was trying to get close with Adam. When it came for dinner, my parents made their annual toast. Once they'd done, Sally stood up and she said some words. She said how she was so lucky to be there, that she'd almost died when she was younger. And this is something that she has said over and over again just to get pity. She then redirected to Maya and said, I know it must be really hard for you that your ex is now my husband, but thanks for the blessing, babe. And she said, I know it must be so hard for you to be here, knowing how hard it was for you to compete with me. But I applaud your bravery. This is the moment where Adam stood up. He said, how dare you insult my wife? Then the word vomit started. Now I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, you think you're so special because you're a miracle baby? Clearly your only achievement is surviving something that wasn't even your doing. What else do you have to show for it? Then this line killed me. He said, everything you have is basically borrowed from my wife. Even your pathetic husband. You're so annoying, even your husband doesn't like you that much because he's been trying to get with every cousin in the room. You're so shameless and pathetic that you even tried to hit on me. You already got a ex and now you want a husband as well. And then he said, I would rather die than be with a woman like you whose personality is like a paper bag. You've always been so jealous of Maya because you know that you will never be as amazing as her. That's why you stole from her, because it was the only way you were going to get what she had. He mic dropped and walked out.
Am I the asshole for manipulating my best friend into breaking up with her boyfriend because I like him? My best friend and I have known each other for about 3 years. Now, there has always been jealousy between us. We're very competitive because we're both models, and we're always trying to one-up each other with the jobs we get. Luckily, we both do pretty well. We both modeled for Kylie Cosmetics, and we both have OFs. If you know, you know. When it comes to men, we both tend to go for the same type of guy. And yes, he's always a little bit toxic and a little bit abusive. Usually we date rappers, influencers, athletes, actors, or models. And I can guarantee these men are always insecure, which is why they become so toxic. Well, this time around, my bestie decided to start dating a regular guy. He works at an office and he's not toxic at all. In fact, he's got money, stability, doesn't have any mental health issues. Obviously, seeing the fact that she got with somebody who was healthy made me feel like I wasn't doing enough. And after meeting this guy, I realized just how good he is. He's also pretty attractive. I knew that their relationship would not be good for me. I became extremely envious. I was angry at her all the time. That's when I started making up lies about him to my best friend. Told her that he would stare at me a lot and that it made me uncomfortable. And when I told her this, she went crazy on him. She actually confronted him in front of me. Trust me, I wasn't expecting her to do that, but he went out of his way to apologize to me and told me that he didn't mean to make me uncomfortable. And he said that if he even stared at me, it was probably a mistake. Y'all, I know he didn't stare at me. I was lying, but he still apologized to me. This is when I realized just how good a guy he is, and this made me want him even more. I was angrier and more jealous than ever. My envy levels were through the roof. Every time they went out on a date, I would try to sabotage it somehow. I'd go over to her house to help her get ready and randomly start doing her makeup and force her to be late. One time I even pretended to drop a glass of water and I wet her hair just so that she would be late to the date. And it started working. They began fighting and she would tell him that he had no patience with her and he started calling her flaky. This is when I had to go to Instagram. I made an account and pretended to be another girl. I started messaging him but he wasn't replying. What I did next is bad. I spent 2 weeks creating this fake account. I found a random Brazilian model online and I basically stole all her Instagram pictures. I went ahead and made the account and started posting every single day, multiple times a day. And I even started posting on the stories, like stealing her pictures and pretending it was uploaded from that day. I was really good at it. I started messaging him, but nothing. Eventually, I replied to one of his stories and he did end up seeing that one. But he didn't reply, so I knew I had to take it a step further. I know that he's in financing, so I reached out to him with a question about finance. This is when he replied. He offered to give me a free consultation online. Instead of saying yes to to that right away. I started asking him questions, and he was answering. But eventually I asked him what city he was living in and if he wanted to hang out. This is when he politely said that he would go out with me, but that he has a girlfriend and that nothing could happen. Told him I was new in town and that I needed friends. He sent me a list of restaurants that I could go to. I mean, how nice is he? But still, he kept it really professional. So I took all of the evidence and I went to my best friend. She hit the roof. She completely believed everything I said. It only took me 2 hours to convince her to leave him. Once I convinced my best friend to break up with her boyfriend because I wanted him, everything was easy. I showed her the Instagram DMs, which weren't really that bad, but she still got really mad at him. She even thanked me for going out of my way to prove that he was a lying cheater. According to her, the fact that he even would message his girl back shows that he had an intention to speak to her, even though he didn't actually agree to hang out with her. And I have to agree with that. She ended up breaking up with him that very same day. Then he messaged me asking if I could try to help him get back with her. Of course I said no, but now my goal is to try to get with him. I feel like this is going to be really hard because he's such a good guy, and also I need to keep it secret from my best friend. But I want a man like this, someone loyal and kind. I actually ended up telling my mom about my plan and she tells me not to do it. I know that you guys are probably going to tell me not to do it, but where am I going to find a man like this? Everyone I meet is either an actor or a stupid rapper. Sure, they have money, they're always toxic and abusive. I'm sick of getting ghosted. What should I do? Or should I just leave him alone?
We hired a human as an engineer on our spaceship thinking they're completely harmless. However, we were quickly proven wrong. Our crew was expecting a new engineer, but never in my 3 lifetimes aboard the Galactic Federation ship did I ever expect to have a human crew member. I thought I had seen everything, from life forms made of pure radioactive energy to silicon life beings, but never a human. To us, they possessed no real threat, but we were wrong. Mark, as he calls itself, boarded the ship not many cycles ago. It seemed friendly, but what caught us off guard was the strange thing it brought with it. A dog, or as Mark calls it, Rex. While it is clear that Rex cannot speak as Mark does, it is clear that they understand each other. Rex is a furry, 4-legged life form with a moving tail at the rear and a mouth full of sharp fangs. Why humans would have these terrifying creatures as house pets completely baffles me. This had the crew on edge. But Mark assured us Rex was no threat. Mark turned to rest and, gesturing with his hand and speaking in a soft, squeaky voice, gave Rex some flesh of what Mark called chicken. Mark reported to the bridge as instructed. To my surprise, he wore no helmet. I guess our atmosphere and air was close enough to its own planet that it didn't require a suit. What happened next, none of us were prepared for. Mark pulled a bottle from his belt that had the label H2O on it. Dihydrogen monoxide. A Class 7 weapon that is extremely poisonous to all known races. To our shock and horror, Mark pressed it to his lips and took a drink and then offered the same to Rex. Why do you have that weapon on board? Don't you know that dihydrogen monoxide is highly illegal in the Federation? And why would you consume it? Have you lost all your sense? One of officers screamed. Mark simply chuckled. He explained that all humans drink water and that he needed it to survive. Tension gripped the bridge. As the bottle became empty, Mark took a green can from his back pocket. Opening the lid, he took a large pinch of what looked like earth dirt and placed it in between his jaw structure and his lip. My 3 hearts skipped a beat as I saw the terrifying word, nicotine, another biological weapon banned in all forms of warfare. We came in peace, yet you bring weapons aboard my ship, I remarked. Mark simply explained that nicotine was a luxury for some humans and gives them a mild, high sensation. Says it helps him think. As he spoke, Mark pulled a blade and used it to groom himself. What is that for? I asked tactfully, knowing if I did not defuse the situation promptly, the whole ship would be plunged into chaos. Mark said it was for hunting back home. Mainly crocodiles. They're these big lizards that hunt in the water, Mark calmly stated. Our eyes grew wide. And what does this crocodile hunt? I hesitantly asked. Mainly deer and fish, but it'll take a human just the same. And they get big. I'd say the biggest I have ever caught was 10 feet long. Mark beamed proudly. To say that there are whole areas filled with massive lizards that hunted humans, let alone lived in water, was incredibly frightening to say the least. But the fact that some humans took it upon themselves to hunt these creatures let us know that they were to not be messed with. I had heard about humans. Everyone in the Galactic Confederation knew about humans. Descended from predators, they were often violent, even to each other. They were contrary, illogical, confrontational, and worse, easily angered. In the 300 Narns since the humans discovered FTL, they had dozens of armed confrontations with many peoples, including several Confederation members. Once, they had gone to war with a trade consortium because the Talong Hai had blockaded the Ublots' home system. A human cargo ship had contracts to deliver products to the Ublots, and when they attempted to do so, the Talong Hai destroyed them. The Talong Hai were unprepared for what happened next. Humans have a fetish for something they call free trade. Add to that, humans as a whole took offense to the Talong Hai destroying that one ship. You would have thought they were of the same nest, but most of their people did not even know the names of the 30-some humans who died. Several hundred human warships descended upon the Ublot system and completely destroyed the Talong Hai blockade, and then proceeded to hunt down any Talong Hai ship within 50 light years. They only stopped when the Talong Hai capitulated, offered financial restitution, and agreed to never attack a human vessel again. Needless to say, after losing more than 100 ships, the Talong Hai were fully prepared for the third demand. When the Confederation offered the humans membership, the humans refused, citing the laws of the Confederation were incompatible with their constitution, something about universal rights. I do not completely understand it all, but the Confederation leaders, those with real power, decided to isolate the humans and refuse them passage in Confederation space. That did not work. The humans still traveled brazenly in Federation space, and no members desired to challenge them militarily. I sat outside the ruins of my home holding my youngest hatchling, wondering when she would take her last breath. I was not alone. All over my planet, other parents did the same. Some already mourned. It had been 39 days since a series of solar flares had decimated my home system. Overnight, the planet's infrastructure was completely destroyed. There was no power and little clean water. Crops failed and livestock died. What land not suffering severe drought was subjected to monsoons or hurricanes? Some of these hurricanes spanned entire continents. In space, all our orbital platforms had failed. The largest had even crashed to the ground. Further out, past the fifth planet and in the asteroid fields, some platforms and factories survived, but not enough to help. We asked the Confederation for help, but so far none has come. Oh, they had promised to help. They claimed it would just take time. Not in time to save billions of lives. Not in time to save my little Yadochka. Tears fell down my face as I looked at my little girl. Her feathers had fallen out days ago. Her skin burned and painful to the touch. She occasionally regained consciousness, smiling up at me, touching my face, breaking my heart even further. I was helpless to save her. I heard the crack of a distant sonic boom, then another. Dozens more followed. I looked up to see dozens, no hundreds of flaming paths as more debris entered the atmosphere. What now? More destruction? What had we done to displease the gods so? But it was not debris crashing down. The object slowed, changed directions, and slowly I could see the outline of shuttlecraft, ships I had never seen before. I stared in wonder as a second wave of booms cracked through the blistering heat. As far as the eye could see, ships dropped from space. I felt a twinge of hope as one separated from the pack and slowed to a gentle stop over my home. Gracefully, almost delicately, the ship touched down. Steam hissed from exhaust ports, and I could see the heat shimmering above the giant shuttle as the rear ramp lowered and dozens of beings ran out, some pulling grav pallets of cargo. One ran up to me and stopped. Humans were the boogeymen of the Confederation. Nobody crossed them. Nobody really trusted them. Only criminals consorted with them. Everyone knew that. I thought that. But I was wrong. "Here," the large human said as he dropped to my side. He had some sort of device on his shoulder that translated his words. "I have a med pack. We can save her." "But your med packs will not work on dilutions," I answered. I dared not allow myself to hope. "We planned for that." The human waved a flashing metal wand over my child. "These med packs are designed for your people. With the solar flares and your physiology, we knew we would need medicine for the burns and infections. Artificial skin to cover the worst. It has built-in painkillers, but she needs fluids. I took a crash course on how to start IVs for your people." I must have looked stupid to the human. I just could not accept what was happening. "Here, you are not as bad as her, but need some fluids too. This has concentrated electrolytes and medicine to help you. Food will be ready pretty soon." The pouch he handed me, and it was a he as I had read that only their males had facial hair, was full of a cold fluid. I took the straw and drank greedily as I watched the man tend to my daughter. As he did, others dragged pallet after pallet out of the shuttle. Some started assembling some sort of prefabricated buildings while others ran through my little village, offering help where they found the need. "Thank you," I said softly. "I have nothing to repay you. No need. We came to help." "But why? You are not part of the Confederation. My people have rarely even encountered yours." "So? You needed help. We had help to give." The human never stopped treating Yadochka. He had pierced the large artery in her left leg with a needle attached to a bag of greenish fluid. Right now, there are 50 cargo vessels in orbit with relief supplies and a dozen Nightingale-class hospital ships. Once my people have the hospital built, we can treat the worst of your injured. Even the Confederation did not send this kind of help. Shit, this is just the first wave. In a day or so, 100 more ships will be here, then even more after that. Your government sent so much? I was dumbfounded. No, I mean, some of them are Terran Navy, maybe 6 cargo ships, and all the Nightingales. The rest are private ships with volunteers and donations from my people to yours. Again, why? We are not allies. Your people even dislike the Confederation. 1, your people are not the Confederation. And 2, we do not need allies. Alliances are political things, and allies can betray you when it is in their best interest. We find that having friends is better. But we are not friends. We weren't. But we are now. My name is Oliver Pierre. I am Lakul Solmnar. My daughter is Yadochka. You said that most of your people are civilians. Yep, an odd bag too. Got 2 ships of nuns from the Sisters of Charity, 4 ships full of Mormons. They always show up where there are disasters. 2 ships from New Damascus. They provided most of the medical supplies. About a dozen ships full of the crazy Vikings from New Osterland. They are the closest to your planet. And a bunch more. I still find it hard to believe just why you would help us. There is a saying among some of my people. We call it the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Then there are others that believe in karma. Hell, old David over there was Boy Scout. He always says to do one good deed every day. I do not know this word, karma. It is a belief that the good or bad you do in this life determine your next one. Put simply, what goes around comes around. I don't quite know if reincarnation is real. But why take a chance, eh? I did not know what to think. It was all so alien. Okay, I have Yadochka stabilized. We can move her to the hospital. She might need to go up to one of the ships for full treatment. These burns look pretty bad. The human carefully picked up my daughter as if she was a precious toy. My people were barely half the size of humans. I followed him as he trotted to this freshly built hospital. Everywhere I looked, humans were doing the same for others in my village. I felt hope for the first time in weeks. Yes, humans were a bit scary. They were huge and powerful. They were descended from predators. Maybe they are a bit prone to violence at the smallest provocation, or even contrary, illogical and confrontational. I say, so what? In our time of need, when our allies sent platitudes and empty promises, when the trade consortiums waited to pick over the corpse of our system, the humans sent help. Out of all the known peoples in the galaxy, only the humans showed up in our time of need. I tell you that the humans are also kind, compassionate, selfless, and even friendly, though I still do not understand their humor. Allies? The human was right. My people needed less allies and more friends. From this day forth, I would thank the gods for that lesson.
Let's get ready together while I tell you exactly what it feels like to be hit by a car. I thought some of you might be interested to know how it feels because, you know, the phrase, I feel like I just got hit by a car, is so popular. I guess I'm one of the few people in the world that has gotten hit by a car going like 70 miles per hour and lived to tell the tale. So I was hit by a car while I was on a bike with my husband 3 years ago. He was running from the cops and he just slammed right into us. And he didn't even stop. And shockingly, my husband and I both survived. I shattered my femur and my hip, and my husband broke his tibia. But lucky for my husband, he actually lost consciousness. He doesn't really remember the immediate aftermath. Well, I remember very vividly flying through the air and landing on the ground on my back and not feeling a single thing. And I knew in my head that I was very injured because my left leg was laying over my right shoulder across my body. And the fact that I didn't feel anything just made me think that I was definitely paralyzed. Later I found out that's because your body goes into so much shock right when something traumatic like that happens. I feel like the movies do a pretty good job at portraying the mental state you feel after something really traumatizing happens. And there's that ringing sound, and all the sounds of people screaming are like very muffled. And then you just see the person like in a state of shock. There's just like chaos going on around them, but it just feels like it's just them in the whole world. That's how I would describe it pretty exactly. And I actually have video right when we got hit because a man pulled out his phone and started filming everything just for evidence purposes. I'm just laying on the ground. It doesn't even look like I'm freaking out. I knew if I let myself get to a point of hysteria about what just happened. But when the paramedics started picking me up and loading me onto the stretcher, that's when all of the pain hit me. Then I had pain for months and months and months and months. Also, because of the blood clot that I got, I had to get off of my hormonal birth control pills. I got pregnant 4 months later, and my son would not be here today if we did not get hit by that car. So God can really bring beauty and joy out of the worst situations. But yeah, highly recommend not getting hit by a car. And maybe don't say that you feel like you got hit by a car around someone who was actually hit by a car.
Shit. Am I the asshole? My mom is an influencer. I am sick of being a part of it. I had a no photos hoodie printed for me and my little sister. I am a teenager, and my mom is kind of famous on Instagram and blogging. She had a mommy blog all when I was growing up, and of course, me and my sister were always involved. It sucks because there's so much out there about us, and it's what's gonna come up when I'm looking for a job, when I'm dating, when anyone looks up my name. Yeah. I found a website that will print custom jackets, print all over the front and back and arms, and I ordered some hoodies that say a bunch of phrases all over them. No photos, no videos. I do not consent to being photographed. No means no. Respect my privacy. No cameras. No profiting off my image. It sounds silly, but it looks pretty sick actually. I got one for me and one for my 9-year-old sister, who started to not always want photos. And I guess the idea is that my mom can't take good looking pictures, even candid ones, with us in the hoodies without them having a pretty strong message that we don't want to be in the photos. My mom was mad when they showed up, and really mad when I'm wearing mine. Like, she says she just wants pictures to remember my young years by. Bullshit. She won't post ones without asking. But I know that's a whole mess anyways. She always says that and then negotiates me into letting her post. Like, either by saying that's how she makes income, so if I want money for something, to stop arguing about pictures, or posting without asking and then saying I thought it would be okay because your face wasn't visible, you're just in the background, etc. And I'm always like, no, you didn't think. If you thought at all, you'd remember what I had said. I want no new pictures of me or mentions of me online. Remove all pictures that include me that you've ever posted, and delete any writing that mentions me. I'm just so fed up and upset that my mom is mad at me for wearing my new hoodie every day. She's mad I won't take it off for any event and thinks it's inappropriate to wear certain things. I know it's really weird looking, but it feels like my only option. Edit to add a couple more things. She also says all the mentions of consent and no means no and this is my own body, sorry, forgot to mention that one earlier, imply something more inappropriate, and that it is really inappropriate to wear those words out in public. We've also fought about me wearing it to family events and school events with a generally dressier dress code because it looks like a, quote, gangster hoodie. I don't know what to say to that, but I don't agree. Am I the asshole for always wearing my no photos hoodie? I, 32 male, asked my wife, 30 female, if we could open the relationship. She agreed, and I'm feeling upset because although she's bisexual, she's only sleeping with men. 32 male, and my wife is 30 female. After 5 years of marriage, I felt like she had given me all she had to offer. Now, please don't judge me for saying that. She just had a very low drive, and I have a higher one. I figured opening the relationship would help out marriage and help me get my needs met. She originally said no, but after I explained to her the benefits, she said yes after a few days of asking. She seemed both excited at the possibility of a threesome. Now, where the problem lies is that my wife is bisexual, and yet the only people she's been sleeping with have been men. When asked about this, she said she only sleeps with people she clicks with, and they just happen to be men. When I told her my feelings about this, she said it's only fair because I'm sleeping with other women. While true, it makes me wonder if she's truly bisexual. When I asked her to also sleep with women, or I'd want to close close the marriage again, she rolled her eyes and said no. One of the guys I fear is trying to seriously date her. He brings her flowers and food, pays for her nails, and never even acknowledges me when he's over. I feel like she's dismissing my feelings, and I'm getting frustrated. I want to close our marriage again. How to approach this?
Here is the story time of just some crazy shit that I've lied to my older sister about. I have another sister who's not sissy, you guys, like my oldest sister. I don't talk about her much because she doesn't really give me much. No, okay. For dearly, we just live in different states and we really just only like text and stuff like that. So it's like I don't know why the fuck am I gonna talk about her. Love you though, bitch. Love you. She's one of the most gullible people in the world. Like whatever I say, she just always believes me. I honestly have no idea why. So I love to play like these little jokes on her, like these little pranks, and just get her all riled up. For example, she calls me on my birthday and she was like, happy birthday, how's the Outer Banks? And I was like, really good until we lost Sissy. And I'm fully fucking lying at this point. And mind you, Sissy's right next to me, like hearing me tell her this story. And Sissy just ignores it because she's like, whatever. I was like, yeah, we lost Sissy and then we went to the beach and we found her and she was pretending to be a mermaid in the middle of the ocean at 1 a.m. And my sister's on the phone like, what? Oh my God, are you fucking serious? Like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, no, like we had to go to the beach and find her. My sister was like, well, why was she in the water? I was like, because she thought she was a mermaid. Mind you guys, Sissy loved that mermaid show H2O when she was young. I mean, like, who fucking did it? My older sister knew that. I kept going on with the story. I was like, yeah, like, the only reason we found her is because I heard her screaming, Cleo! Cleo! In the middle of the water at 1 in the fucking morning. She's like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, she was like convinced she was a fucking mermaid. And my sister was like, oh my God, Olivia, this is like not even funny. Like, I'm actually freaking out. Like, was she good? I was like, she was just like a little drunk and she just like thought she was a mermaid. Then my older sister's like, she was drunk and doing this. Like, she has to go to rehab. Something's wrong with her. I'm like, okay, you're being dramatic. Like, I'm gaslighting the shit out of her. Like, you're being so dramatic. Like, she literally just thought she was a mermaid. Like, she was having a good time. She's like, you don't find that fucking weird? I'm like, no, I find it very bizarre. I'm like, but wait, like, you didn't even hear how we had to get her out of the water. I was like, there was a man at the bar who was a lifeguard because like Sissy was not coming out of the water. Like she was convinced. She was like, my tail's gonna shrivel up. Her sister's on the phone like, wait, what the fuck? I'm like, yeah, so we had to get the lifeguard from the bar and he literally dragged her out of the water and she was like pretty deep in there because she thought she was a fucking mermaid. And then I said when we were pulling her onto, well, when he was pulling her onto shore, she just kept screaming, Cleo, Cleo. I was just so upset about her tail. Like she was like, my tail's gone, my tail's gone. My older sister's on the phone eating all this up. She's like, Olivia, this is a problem. Have you told mom? I'm like, it was just like my birthday weekend. Like it wasn't that big of a deal. We were all having a good time. She's like, she was in the middle of the ocean thinking she was fucking Cleo. Yeah, but like we got her out of the ocean. I'm like, I gotta go. Anyways, love you, bye. Believed all of it. She still texts me to this day asking me, she was like, did she really scream Cleo in the water? I was like, Cleo, Cleo. Older sister still to this day thinks that Sissy was pretending to be a fucking mermaid in the Outer Banks. Like, she still believes it. And, like, will swipe up on, like, she's gonna see this TikTok and just be pissed. But, like, she swipes up on my Snapchat stories, like, is she okay? Is she still, like, all these things. And I'm like, just don't ask Sissy about it because she'll get so mad. She's so embarrassed that she thought she was a mermaid. Bitch, why the fuck would you believe that Sissy thought she was a mermaid and went to the ocean? Honestly, like, though, like, that would be something I would do drunk. This next thing, my mom and I actually convinced both of my sisters about it, but my oldest sister was like the most upset. I still think she might believe it. Like if you guys are real ones, you know my mother is in her Jesus era. Like she's been in her Jesus era. Like randomly, you guys, my mom just started loving God. And it's like, go off, queen, do your thing. But she loves to like push him down our throats. So we're like, when did this come about? Because like this is not the mother that raised me. Like she's acting as if we used to go to church every Sunday kind of thing. It's like, you can love Jesus. Like just don't shove Jesus down my fucking throat. My mom and I thought it'd be so funny if we convinced my sisters that she wants to become, is it a pastor or a priest or something? Or like my mom wanted to become like a nun or something. I text in the family group chat of just my sisters and I'm like, you guys, like I'm really worried about mom. Like I just got off the phone with her and she said she wants to start like ministry school. Like whatever it takes to become like a pastor. And like she said that she wants to like cancel her business that she has now and she just wants to focus on like serving the Lord. Immediately my sisters are like, Livy, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, guys, call her for all, like if you don't believe me, call her. And like my mom's in on it too. So my mom's taking the phone calls like, yes, girls, I didn't know how to tell you, but this is my new life path and this is exactly what I'm going to do. And I have my sisters like talking shit to me me in the group chat while my mom is like on the phone with them. And I'm just like, I'm eating it up. The sisters are like, she can't like leave her business. Like, what the fuck is she doing? Like, what is she doing? I was like, you guys, she loves the Lord. Why are you being so fucking rude? My oldest sister was so distraught. She was like, what does this even mean? And I'm like, what is she doing? I was like, serving the Lord, bitch. I don't know. But my mom and I had this going for like 2 weeks. And I told Sissy, I was like, Mom and I are fucking with Kay. My oldest sister is like texting in the group chat every day. Like, what's happening with Mom? Like, what is this? I'm like so concerned. Like, what is she gonna do? And me and Sissy are just like, let her live her life. Like, stop being so fucking rude. Like, we're gaslighting the shit out of her. And then my mom is just going off and having like hour-long phone calls with my oldest sister being like, this is my journey and you're gonna support it. I think like 3 weeks later we told her it was a joke. But honestly, I never like telling her it's a joke because she just believes anything. Like, how can you be that fucking gullible when I probably was like, she's a minister. Like, I don't even know the correct wording for it. Like, how could you even take me fucking seriously, bitch? You would think since how often and frequent I do this to her, she wouldn't trust me or believe me. This bitch always does. She's so gullible, and I love that.
Am I the asshole for asking my sister to babysit? I, 30 female, raised my youngest sister, Jen, 20 female, since she was 13 because she had to be removed from our mother's care. Currently at 20, she still lives at home because she decided she wanted to drop out of college and work full-time for a while to figure out her major after getting an associate's. She currently works roughly 50 hours a week as a nanny, and she got this job recently. My husband and I had a baby boy 2 months ago, and before he was born, Jen said she'd be up to watching him a few days a week since she lives with us rent-free, although she does her own shopping. Since getting her job, Jen has no longer wanted to watch my son. She has 1 to 2 days off a week, and so we try not to burden her, but even on days where she doesn't work at all or is off early, she claims she'd like to be child-free. To her credit, she helps around the house after work, or she'll watch him and there so my husband and I can go for nightly walks or use the bathroom. However, the issue occurred earlier today. I asked Jen if she could babysit my son on one of her off days, and she said that she had plans with a friend on one day and intended to use the other to handle daily errands such as her chores like laundry, cleaning her room, etc. I told her that on errand days she could just take her nephew with her and watch him while she cleans up, but she declined and said she would not be able to get anything done since he never wants to be put down, and her body is tired from all the rough housing that she does with the kids at her job. I told her that this isn't what she agreed to before, and she noted that she had a different job then, and she doesn't want to work on her days off too now. It's unfair, honestly. And she suggested paying another sitter, but why would I pay for a sitter when there's a literal professional in the same home that just refuses to do the work? She thinks I'm being over demanding of her and that I agreed to having a third person indefinitely added to my life when I decided to conceive. Her comment was entirely unnecessary, but am I the asshole? Edit to add. We've discussed charging rent before, but her only response is to give her a heads up so she can just move somewhere else. She claims that she only lives with us because it's free and she can repay her student loans faster with the extra money. I don't want to hinder her from getting ahead of her debts, nor do I want to lose the extra help I do manage to get from her around the house.
I literally lived in Hollywood for 2 years and all this random shit happened to me. When people say Hollywood is haunted, they are not joking. The amount of paranormal experiences that I experienced living there. One time I was in an Uber, it was late as fuck at night, maybe like 1 or 2 in the morning. We are on a hill, okay? We're at a stop sign on a hill. There is nowhere for anybody to come from. And out of nowhere, someone starts banging on the window, help me, help me, help me. Literally screaming. Scares the fuck out of me in my Uber and we look at each other. See, he's better than me because he got off the car. I rolled my window down. Tell me why there was nobody there. In the building that I used to live in, several people have allegedly taken their own lives. The amount of times that my sheets would be pulled off of my body in my bed. Forks thrown at me, papers flying. And it ain't just the ghost you gotta be scared of, it's the people alive too. This woman used to stand outside my window, okay? She put butter in a sock. I kid you not, this is not iCarly, this really happened. Anytime somebody went by on a bike, whack. Anytime somebody walked by, whack. Try to drive your car past her, she's gonna smash your window in. I have almost been pulled into several people's cars. While waiting for Ubers or, walking around, I've been grabbed by random men and they would start literally like kissing me up my arm, on my cheek. There's a museum of death. I don't know why I went in there, but I did. And I'm pretty sure something followed me out. Let me not even get into the shit that I saw at this party. While looking for the bathroom, I opened up a door I shouldn't have. And I saw some shit that I shouldn't have. And I genuinely wish I could erase it from my memory. And the only way I got out of that situation was pretending that I was high and drunk and acted like I didn't see anything. The things that I was offered in exchange for money and fame. I'm sure some of y'all hear about, the satanic shit that happens out in Hollywood allegedly, and some of y'all probably think, oh, it's probably just like a joke or like a rumor. People that you wouldn't even expect to be involved in that stuff are involved. The amount of times that I would witness literal children in adult spaces, lifestyle that you see a lot of these IG models and Instagram famous people living. You think all these girls are funding these expensive lifestyles with brand deals? With a little Taco Bell sponsor? That ain't their only sponsor. I understand why all these movies try to make Hollywood look like this glamorous place. There's over 50,000 homeless people in Los Angeles. And that's probably not counting everybody. I got DM'd by somebody that I guess you can consider a celebrity. When I got there, I wasn't the only girl there. And the first thing that I was told by one of the other women, oh, is it your first time too? The second those words left her mouth, I left. I don't even want to know what that meant. I was told that it was just going to be us, so I don't know what I was about to get into, but I'm glad I left. I'm running out of time, but I have a ton more stories. Y'all want them?
This is what I think short man syndrome is. The idea of this syndrome came to me when I was fucking around with some short ass men. I'll admit it. I was fucking around with some short ass men. But when things were ending with them, or I just wasn't on good terms with them anymore, is when I realized the huge shift. I told all my friends and everything about the things that the short men were saying, and they were like, wait, are they short? And I was like, yeah, why? And they're like, because it's giving short energy. So as soon as I heard short energy, I was like, holy fuck, this makes so much sense, because every short man I've dealt with has had this sass and like attitude about them that I've never experienced with any other tall man. It's so, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm literally not trying to be rude whatsoever. I'm just saying, when I fuck around with short men, they have a sass and an attitude to them. They are so cunty. It's not even funny. I just really think short energy and short man syndrome is a thing. They just have a lot more sass and attitude. Here are some examples of the short man syndrome. Anytime I didn't give him what he wanted, or what he wanted to hear, the sass was just insane. I would just be getting the rudest text messages, so out of pocket. It honestly felt like I was dealing with a girlfriend that I was just in a huge massive fight with. Honestly, I feel like that's the way Sissy and I text when we're in a fucking fight. I'm like, I cannot believe this bitch right now. And since I needed my stuff back, and I was like, hey, can I get my stuff back? And he was like, no. And he literally just refused to give me my stuff back. And all of my friends were like, it's giving short energy. There was no reason for him to not give me my stuff back. I think he just wanted to be cunty. And I literally can't explain it besides the fact that he had short man syndrome. One time I told a short man I wasn't going to have sex with him, and we were talking, and I was like, well, no, I don't want to fuck you. And I have never seen a bigger bitch fit in my entire life than that moment when I told Short King that he was not getting this punani. I honestly think this behavior is just a defense mechanism, probably because they were picked on about their height their entire life, so they've carried that attitude with them throughout their entire lives. Listen, I think short men can be sexy. I'm not ew, I'm not one of those bitches, but I just think once you don't give a short man what he wants, the sass is out to play. And that's when the short man syndrome comes into play, and they're super cunty and they're super sassy. I've just never dealt with the sassiness and the cuntiness that I've gotten from short men with taller men. Call me crazy or call me a fucking genius, but I know any woman that has dealt with a short man will know exactly what short man syndrome is. Honestly, I think there's no cure to short man syndrome. I think you just gotta let him be sassy. So if you or a loved one have been a victim of short man syndrome, leave.
While having humans on initial survey teams to determine if a planet is hospitable enough to support a colony, it's important to remember that a human's definition of hospitable is vastly different from the rest of the galaxy. Exploration and collaboration with unknown races has been at the forefront of the Galactic Council's agenda for several hundred cycles. Thus, when Sol 3 was located, it was a shock to the entire galaxy. A crew of 25 in an exploration cruiser, led by a Takran named Jante Krul, was sent to explore the cosmos. They came to a system of planets, examining the gaseous ones, which were devoid of most life, and slightly treacherous to traverse, though the storms on Sol 5 and 6 were comparable to light weather on the planet of Jaktul, where the scaled Urkin lived. From there, the crew moved on past the asteroid belt to Sol 4, mostly devoid of life once more. But their crew made contact with living creatures, who after some configurations with the translation to accommodate their language, were called humans. The humans on Sol 4, which they called Mars, were explorers themselves in very primitive spacesuits and trying to establish a colony on the planet to be able to conduct more exotic experimentation, like terraforming. A couple of the crew chuckled softly once they were back in the cruiser, saying how unsophisticated and ancient the humans' current technology was. The same was for Sol 2, which they called Venus, though the crew had to have their force shields up to prevent the acid from eating through the outer layer of the ship. But the truly horrifying planet that was in the system was Sol 3, or Earth as they called it. Initial scans had indicated that the atmosphere was poisonous to all known races besides these humans. Oxygen, a flammable gas that was only safe to use in certain environments by a very few select experts, was abundant on this planet. Scans also indicated liquefied water, or H2O, a substance used by aeronautical engineers to create solidified hydrogen fuel cells and antimatter containment cells, both of which were used for space travel, covered almost the entire planet. And the planet held over 7 billion humans, which shocked everyone on this ship, including the exploration commander, Krul. After receiving the report, the Galactic Council decided to try and make a regular contact with the humans, help them advance their technology, and stay on their good side. A race such as them who could breathe and drink chemicals needed for space travel, among other highly dangerous operations, was a race that was not to be trifled with. And it was made into law that day that when humans are on exploration missions, they are not allowed to deem planets hospitable due to the extreme conditions of their home planet.